Oh, yeah.
So there is no president's report tonight, so we'll spare that. Treasurer's report?
I've got one, but it's very unexciting. I'd like to thank Mark and Paul for signing checks in my absence for those 3 weeks. Does anybody have any questions on either the cash statement or on the PMA statement? I just want to point out the fact that we did have a $200,000 investment that came due this month and it was rolled over.
I got a question on the income statement,
Yeah,
on expenses for salaries.
Same question again.
Previous year, we managed to stay within the target of like 8.3, 8.4%. The first month of this year, we blew through it.
There's
So-
there's three pay periods on both
Is that what did it? Oh,
And also a ton of overtime for snow removal, for maintenance staff too.
okay.
yeah, those 3 in a month make things longer.
It did.
Oh, that's why it's,
Yeah, it's 3 pay periods.
yeah, because I think it tempers.
Yeah.
I had a, Michelle, that one. Some of the percents seem very high. Maybe
Yeah,
it's
one
because
time.
Not just the staff, but
Right.
the telephone, are these one-time
Their contracts, the one time,
Okay.
their yearly payments.
professional services? What is professional services? What was the number? Oh. 8130.
Oh, the professional services were the director, hiring of the director.
I see, okay.
Contract. Part of it, that's half of the contract is reflected there, and then there's some
Okay.
bills from Frank in there too.
That's one, I just,
I'm not sure why that came out of professional services. Blanche instead of consultant service, was there a reason it didn't come out of consultant service? Any idea? Oh, okay. Kevin? For those.
We did the first,
That it came out of the 8130 instead of 8140.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Instead of the consultant, more than the professional.
Yeah. Maybe because the professional's hiring can absorb it.
We were told to.
Could go either way.
Yeah. Okay.
All
It
right,
wasn't budgeted for either, so.
that's all I got.
That's for sure. And anybody have any questions about any of the checks?
Yes.
Okay.
What is SIKICH?
Sickage.
Sickage, that's our auditor and our accounting,
And we're also not using it for technical support.
yeah.
So you see, the big check, 15,000,
Yeah,
which covers X number of hours of tech support
okay.
that in place of computer view that we've had for quite a few years.
The one right up below, it's Circe Dynix.
That's our system that runs pretty much everything. Catalog,
The
technical
computer
services,
system.
Servdesk.
One of these days I'll learn is WIN, W-I-N.
That's
Health
health
insurance.
insurance.
Oh, that's gonna be high.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be high. Okay. Thank you.
Well, that's okay. Anybody else? Other than that, it was thankfully very uneventful month.
All right, so can I have a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
I move that we accept the treasurer's report.
And a second, Martha. No further comments. Paul, if you could call that.
Trustee Calhoun,
Oh, yes.
trustee Goldstein,
Yes.
trustee Peters,
Yes.
trustee Noel,
Yes.
trustee Gonzalez,
Yes.
trustee Berg, yes, trustee Elkins.
Yes. Committee reports, I'm not aware of any meetings. Director staff reports.
Well, I have a number of things, again, what was in the librarian's report. I don't know how close anybody looks at circulation statistics, how many items we check out, but up until last fall, it had been down significantly month by month from the previous year. Which is because it's just a well-known fact that as the economy goes down, library use goes up. So if you go back 3 to 5 years, we were really busy, and so now we're comparing to those really high numbers. So the last year and a half didn't look so hot. Then in the fall, it started to increase again. We were approaching being equal with the previous year. In January, it appeared to have dropped a lot again, but that's because we were
Weather.
closed. We were closed, but even when we were open, the weather was bad, and then we were
Yeah.
closed for 2.5 days. So just doing some quick extrapolation with the numbers, had we been open, we probably would have been above January from last year,
That's-
which would have been the first increase in, I think I said, a year and a half or something like that. So hopefully February will.
So we have to
Continue
assume
that.
some people.
So our
they
business
got
will go up and the economy will go down.
Yes.
Okay, I'm just trying
Yeah.
to.
We probably won't get there now.
I was gonna say, Kevin, I don't think that just to make your numbers look better, I don't think we want the economy to
No,
tank.
no, it was not advocating that.
Oh.
Were we closed for a while in August too, with the carpeting?
Yes.
Just a couple days.
Yeah,
Well,
a
no,
couple
we,
days in
oh,
Seattle.
well, a week for children's.
Well, the children's
Right.
are shut down.
That's
Yeah.
Right.
that's significant, I think.
Yeah, because they take out a lot
Yeah.
of those.
Right, oh, yeah. Yeah, and that's anywhere from 40 to 50% for circulation.
Yeah.
I mentioned at the last meeting that we've gotten last couple of meetings, a donation from a woman in California in honor or memory of her mother, who had been a longtime library user. That was going to be used for a Lego robotics kit. And what I forgot to distribute was the letter that she sent to me with about her mother's life, and then a nice note from her about what the library meant to her mother, which I just think we'd all like to read.
Yeah, thank you.
She has a very interesting life and says nice things about the library. And I just got to pass that out last week or last month.
Thank you. Pictures from there.
On March 3rd, we are starting a new service called Hoopla. That's the right date, right? March 3rd. A streaming service for our patrons where they can get videos, movies, TV shows, audiobooks, and CDs on their computers or laptops, tablets, cell phones, etc., smartphones. It's a service where we essentially deposit an amount of money with the company.
This is where we put $6,000
Right, this
in
is
and then it's
6,000,
gonna.
right. And then each time someone checks one of these items out, it comes out of that money, and they cost anywhere from a little bit under $1 to a couple dollars or so, depending on the item. And so this will be just for Morton Grove residents. We can limit how many items they can have per month, so we've set that to 8, at least just to start with, so somebody can't blow through the whole 6,000. And so staff is working on publicity.
Does this mean they can load on iTunes?
I'm sorry,
Can they download iTunes and things like that?
well, iTunes is a separate program.
Off
I mean,
this
it's,
account? I mean, can they download
Music, you
music
mean.
onto their iPads and
Yes.
keep it forever?
no, it's like you're checking it out. It lasts for a certain amount of time and then it's gone.
Oh, okay.
Right. But the nice thing is, it's not like my meeting wall where there's X number of copies of these things, and if they're all out on somebody's device, then nobody else can get to it. You can, it's essentially unlimited. So if, you have 20 people that want the same book on a given day, they all get it. And it just reduces our amount of money, then we add more money to the account. And so it allows us to provide a lot more materials without taking up space, which we don't have. And it especially with the videos, it's not necessarily, they're not focusing on current videos. I mean, there are some, and it grows, but it's more older. I mean, not 40, 50 years old, but not your recent blockbusters necessarily.
Can you track what kind of materials are being checked out with this?
You mean between like videos, CDs, that sort
Yeah.
of thing?
books,
I'm sure we can.
video-
Yeah.
So that we can, see if it's being used mainly for
Oh, yeah.
educational reasons or mainly for entertainment reasons.
Well, yes,
Tell the reason.
You can't.
but we provide entertainment,
Oh, I know.
everything we do, so that's not necessarily a negative, that's entertainment and not.
I didn't put a
And not
value on it,
education.
I just said can't be tracked.
So that's starting a week from Monday. Starting tomorrow, we have a technology survey. You've got a bookmark. This. The survey comes from University of Washington. It's funded by the Gates Foundation. It's developed by the university. We don't control the questions that are being asked. They developed all that. And then any library can use this survey. It's not so much to gather information about how much people are using the library, although that's part of it, but also how they're benefiting from it. There are questions like, have you used a library computer at the library or at home to apply for a job, attend a class, research an illness, those kinds of things, to see what kinds of impact the library is having on people's lives. So that's starting tomorrow and will run for a month. It's an online survey, so it will be accessible from all our computers. Anytime somebody signs on to one of our computers, they'll see a prompt to take the survey. And it's on the cover of Books and Beyond, which is coming out tomorrow, so people can do it from home too, because we're interested in the use they make at home, not just here.
And so you get the separate statistics?
Yes.
This just doesn't go with the Gates Foundation?
Oh,
together?
no, I mean, it benefits them by gathering statistics nationwide, but yes, we will get a very detailed report.
Okay, and you'll share that with us?
Sure.
Good.
Is there a start date
Tomorrow.
tomorrow?
Yeah.
So it won't work if you were to go into.
No, don't go home tonight and do this.
I wasn't.
Tomorrow you can.
But there's-
Tomorrow you can. Yes. And then there's no charge for it. I mean, no charge for the papers to do it, there's no charge to
Right.
us to use the survey.
Okay.
Is there a link, like when you first get on? Because this is our general,
Yes, it'll be on the homepage.
okay.
Yeah, we just wanted to have a short address rather than have a long address
It's-
to a specific page.
They don't always work the long ones.
Yeah, yeah. And then the last thing I wanted to mention, and this, Pam may have mentioned this at some point last year, I'm not sure. We've started the process of moving to a new email server, which will eventually transform all of our email addresses from webright.org to mgpl.org. Several of us have already made that move. It'll be probably a couple months before we're all done. It will include all of you too. The reason I'm mentioning it is that somebody, I imagine it's either Kathy or Mark, in one of the emails, it's going back over the last couple months, copied the email to someone else and made it an mgpl.org address. And I don't remember who it was from, or who it was to. So I just want to say that if you get an email from us, from anybody on the staff, it might be either one, because we're in this transition. And if you are writing to us, the safest thing to do is to still write to us at the webright.org address. Because even those of us who...
Something bounced back to me as
That was probably it
undeliverable.
then. Yeah, that was probably it.
I copied it off of some other email so that I didn't have to type the
Yeah,
whole
well,
thing.
the one, like I said, I don't remember who it was from or who here it was to, but it was to somebody who hadn't been moved to the new server yet.
Okay.
But you can always write to us at webright.org. Even those of us who have moved to the new one, it will still get to us. But if you're on mgpl.org and you haven't moved, then it will do that. So, that's all I had.
All right. No questions, fantastic. Corporate counsel, anything this evening? Nope, okay. Unfinished business 9A. Candidate A has returned all her paperwork and has passed everything that she needed to pass. So Deborah Stambris is going to be starting here on March 24th as our new director. So we've got one. So, and I don't think we need the motion on anything she sent in and ready to go, Frank, so,
You extended an offer and she signed it.
yes.
I would say you already
Motion that.
We are good to go there. All right, then we can,
Mark for taking care of those.
no problem. 9B, approval of revised bylaws. Do we or don't we?
Well, everybody should have gotten a copy. If you haven't, looked through them, on page 2, our attorney put in information about the budget that we've asked him to. There was another, the one he also did on, that I mentioned before, that I forgot already.
So everything you talked about changing at the
Everything we
previous.
talked about changed. Mostly what he did was change a few words here and there, which are probably more appropriate wording, and a few typos, and nothing real significant. He put the comment about the president being the spokesperson. He moved it under the trustees, which is probably where it belongs, as opposed to where it was. I don't remember. Just as an aside, a reminder that we've put into the bylaws that all committees meet minimally twice a year. So it's something committees have to start acting like committees. The gift section is on page 8, if anybody hasn't looked through it yet, and otherwise, that's about it, unless Frank has something he wants to
Copy
say.
of it.
You didn't get one?
I wasn't in town.
I sent it by,
Well, I sent
It was
yesterday
emailed.
for him that you weren't checking the trustee account as much down there as your STI one.
Okay.
So, but it was sent to your, so I sent the trustee account.
Everybody got a copy.
That was like 3 weeks ago.
yeah, I sent it out quite, almost right after Frank got it to me, so. Here's one without my notes on it.
That's okay.
I looked at it, looks good.
I noticed under parliamentary authority where it signs off when there have been corrections. There was, the last page, page 10. The ethics statement was never listed as part of the bylaws. And it should have been listed in here as a change to the bylaws, the revised ethics statement back in September of 2006.
They just tacked that on that one.
Yeah, but it should have been listed as a revision. So I added that under the revision notations. And otherwise, I don't know of anything else. Frank had asked a couple questions in his letter, and I just abided by them. And that's why I gave everybody a copy of Frank's letter.
I'm good with
So, if not, I suggest we call a vote on it. We have to have 2/3, I believe, which,
it. We need five trustees to vote for.
right, which would be 5 out of 7.
Actually, your existing bylaws call for 4.
That was one of the changes
So,
that
right, so one of the things that I mentioned was whether you wanted to amend the, which we didn't talk in the meeting, and I apologize that it wasn't brought up at the
Thank
time.
you.
Whether you wanted to.
I knew there was another thing I was looking for.
Whether you wanted to make the bylaws have more than, simple majority, whether you wanted to have like a 2/3 or something like that, or 5 out of 7.
I-
Why not just vote and see?
I thought under section 2, we had decided $1,000.
Huh?
It says 1,000 in property.
Section 2 of what?
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
she's on the gifts.
Article 7, gifts, section 2. Accept non-dedicated monetary gifts of up to 5,000 and property of up to 1,000. I thought it was 1,000.
Honestly, I can't
positive
answer,
that it
you're
was
right.
1,000.
It's a blank.
I thought 5.
Well, it was discussed, several different, we went through several different variations, and my notes, showed, and again, it's only what my notes showed, was that the last variation was to put the 5,000, because that was the director's discretionary dollar amount.
Right.
And then,
Yep.
and that's where I sort of thought it was tied together, and so that was my note, but obviously, it's your bylaws, and whatever you want to put in is what you should put.
I mean, for consistency, whatever, 5, I'm never gonna get that. I mean, that's reality.
That's what happened.
You never know.
I'd let it fly at 5 and 1. I mean,
But why one then?
Why not 5 on both?
5 and 5.
Yeah, I
Okay,
mean,
do
I'd
5
rather
and
have
5.
it 1 and 5.
The thing about what we're talking, when we talk about property, we're talking about somebody walking in with a,
A diamond ring.
well, that would be wonderful, but I think generally you're talking about coming in with a piece of leftover junk from their house that they're trying to lay off on the library. And I think that you probably would wanna limit that,
Be able to say no.
or be able, yeah, be in a.
We turn that down routinely, I'm sure. We would.
I don't know how it works.
I have no comments.
As long as something is given to the library with no restrictions,
Yeah, I mean,
what's the difference?
take it,
Take it, get rid of it.
Move on.
Doesn't matter. If you don't use it.
Regift it.
That's a good idea.
It's already been
Yeah,
marketed
that's a good
5
idea.
times probably.
Regive it to another library.
All right, so Barbara, I think you would make a motion to,
I would,
I just do this, yeah.
going back to the 5 you mean versus 4? Or are you talking about the 5,000, 1,000?
well, why don't you just adopt what you have here with the 4 votes and be done with it?
Okay. Because I would have made it 5 because I feel it should be more than a simple majority, something like the
There might be a
bylaws.
case where 1 or 2 trustees are missing.
Well, it'd be 2/3 of the voting,
That's not what you're
that's
saying.
not saying that, right?
Well, you could have 2/3 of the board present, could you not?
The
Actually, I
So
think
then
we
if you
should,
had quorum and you got 3 people to vote on it, you would pass.
right, and I think the whole idea that I was trying to point out was to not have a situation where your bylaws would be amended by a vote of 3.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that the other 4
It's not fair.
would necessarily be appreciative of 3 members, being there at a certain time when, and maybe that's an overabundance of caution, but that's what we do. That's part of our job, is we look at the worst case scenario and tell you what that could be. So I mean, with 4, you've got a simple majority, and if you only had 5 people present, you'd still need the 4, And then, so I think that's what was in mind here, was that you would always need a majority of the board to vote to change the bylaws. So this is fine the way it is, or,
It's not my choice. I mean, it's gotta be everybody's together.
So we're gonna keep it at 4 or change it to 5?
No, we're gonna
Keep it to
What do you-
4.
well,
I mean, is that what you're?
What do you
could
feel?
just go, you could go boom, boom around the table and see how you
I
feel about
think
the
5 would
versus
be
four.
most fair because.
I like 5.
it
I like
would
5.
I like 5.
Yeah.
All right, so then,
Leave it at 5 and then.
sounds like
Change
you're
it to
at
5.
5. I did.
You do have it set to 5 in
I
here.
did.
So-
You have it 5 in here.
Yeah.
You could motion
I
to
did
accept this
that.
as presented, correct? Oh, it's we must not have the most recent, because it is,
Oh, yours says 5.
Oh.
this was printed today.
Okay,
It's still, we
that's
still
all right,
smell
I'm
it.
writing it in as we spoke.
Are we making changes on this until 2 seconds before we can?
I haven't looked
I
at it in
have
3
it as
weeks.
4 to, you
I have
had
it
it
as
4 and you
4 to
changed it to 5.
Five.
I have it, that's why I was getting
Okay,
confused.
I'm sorry.
We're talking about on page 9, right?
This
Right.
on February
On
9th.
Frank's copy, it's not.
Here,
No, I'm good, I just,
switch copies.
I hand wrote it in. Okay. All right, so now you need a motion to approve the
Yes.
bylaws.
Yes,
Amended bylaws as submitted.
Right.
So it can have them, okay, so now we need a motion to accept the amended bylaws as submitted. From,
It would come from me, I guess, so I move that we approve the bylaws as submitted with revisions.
all right, in a second,
Second.
Thank God.
any further discussions? If none, Paul, call this one, let's put it to bed.
All right. Novick and Callahan
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
have said that there's a motion to accept the amended bylaws as submitted with revisions. Okay. Trustee Berg, yes. Trustee Elvers?
Yes,
Trustee Goldstein?
Yes.
Trustee Calamaine?
Yes.
Trustee Novick?
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez?
Yes.
Trustee Peters?
Yes.
great job, group.
Now I have a dumb question. How do I get this?
But
Blanche.
you just give it to Blanche or Kevin and they will,
So this document is,
It's
we didn't make any changes in here.
none, so you could just take all the,
Take the.
I don't know how to take editing, Mark,
Just
so.
exception.
No, yeah.
Kevin, right, accept changes and it goes
Just go through
away.
accept changes.
Yeah,
I mean, because I've got it on my computer at home.
and then next month we'll have a nice.
Yes,
Send it
Send it
to
to
Kevin and
I-
Yeah,
You don't need to do
No,
anything.
you've got it. I don't know how to take the editing
Throw
stuff
stuff
off. I don't know. how to
Kevin
put
will
that
handle
on.
it tomorrow and it will be
Well,
a done deal.
Maybe not
Or
tomorrow.
Monday, or Tuesday,
I
or
expect a
Wednesday.
bound copy by tomorrow.
All right,
Leather.
Okay.
Leather.
so
Leather.
Kevin, you're back on again.
I'm so glad this is done.
So new business 10B, economic interest statements.
Yes, you will be receiving, in email, a form, or, well, it's not the form in email, you have to go onto a site of Cook County, to answer various questions about economic interest, and probably everybody's done it except
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You're right.
So,
Correct.
there's something to look forward to. That will be coming in March sometime, and it has to be done by May, I don't know
Yeah.
the exact date.
All right.
So we'll be notified.
It'll get-
You should get an email on your library.
And that'll be coming to your trustee account, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, is the squirrel
May I have your
line?
attention, please?
Fine.
The library will close in 30 minutes.
No, it's still working.
Meeting
Yes,
assistance
well,
will
yes,
come
and
in
until you get-
or in the library
you
card.
go through all the
Please
staff,
ask library
and then
staff
we'll
for
go
help
to
now.
you
If
guys.
you need to
You
arrange
use
for
your
ride
server
home,
and change
do
the-
so
your
at this time.
email
The library will
address.
close in 30
And
minutes at
and
9
then,
o'clock.
yes, we'll be
Thank
using
you.
a different program for email.
All right,
Same things, just looks different.
so look for that in March. Open Meeting Act trustee certification.
Right, so there's two things, there's Open Meetings Act, Freedom of Information Act, and by state law, all trustees are required to take an online certification, so to speak, on these.
Oh, that thing.
Every
Yeah.
year, or
No,
just at one
no,
time?
no, just one time.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
okay.
according to what we have, which isn't to say that maybe people haven't done it at home and not brought them in, you get these certificates when you're done.
Right,
And according to what we have, for the open meetings, we need Dr. Calabag, Carlotta, and Paul need to do that. For the Freedom of Information Act, everybody needs to do it except Barbara. Barbara is the only one who, according to our records, maybe somebody's done it at home and we don't have the forms.
I did it
But
here.
wasn't there
I
a
know,
deadline?
I know you
I
did
knew that.
one of them at least, but it's not here, so I don't know.
You get a certificate at the end.
I know,
Right.
Blanche printed it out.
Well, I've got one of them in here.
Was it in the file?
I don't have it.
I've got the file.
It was exciting.
I mean, I said, we're just going by what's in this folder. If they ended up someplace else, then, you know.
But wasn't there a deadline on this?
Yes.
You have to do it
January,
within
and
some time.
so we're like
no matter what.
way past the deadline.
Well,
I mean, I was
you
gonna
are.
do it, because when I went to this thing on Saturday, you know, they said you had to do this, so I went on and I went, well, do I do it or not? Am I gonna get this library in all kinds of trouble by doing it? Because it was the deadline.
Do it.
90 days for me
Just
and
fill it in.
Weren't
a year,
both of
so you could
these
just fill it
together,
out.
Kevin?
I'll do it.
Yeah.
Weren't the two tests together?
Do you
Well,
have
not really. I mean, you could do them together, but they're two separate, you know, sign on and do one and sign on.
That's the
and do one.
problem, you didn't send it to the
So-
library.
And
My
I know you were
recommendation
here.
is to just get it
I
done.
can't
I can't
Yeah.
understand why I wouldn't have done it in the last 3 years.
Well,
If it was
can you
required.
send me the link to the
Yeah.
one I didn't
Yeah.
do?
'Cause every year we have
I'll
to
just
do the
do it
Cook
next
County.
time when I'm here
Oh, I
Tuesday, I'll
didn't
do
know
it
that.
here.
Oh, yeah, that one I know.
Every year we do the Cook County one.
The OMA one was last year for the first time.
It
Maybe
started in
that's what-
January of 2012.
Maybe that's what.
That's when it started. And
Well,
you
it
had
didn't
to
come up
come
in
from
our-
2012
in our,
to 2013 to do
It
it.
would
If
have
you were
come up
already on
once
board,
and you
right?
just
If
do
you were
it
already
and
on
print out
board,
at the
correct.
time at the
Correct.
end.
We'll have 90 days to do it.
And then after that, 90 days.
Yeah,
Because I checked.
yeah.
Well, I will send out an email to everybody with who needs to do what and with the addresses. So you
There
can hopefully do that.
probably would be a way to get a second new copy of this.
We can check and see if they have records of who's
I
done
would
it.
think
Yeah.
so.
Still have my
Yeah,
copy.
we'll figure that out.
I've done that already.
And then you can bring in, I mean, is that appropriate for us, Frank, to keep these certificates here?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Economic
I
impact.
think it would be
Every year.
good if there's
Every
a
year.
centralized file
Yeah.
with all of them.
Yeah, which is what we have. So then you can bring it in the next,
It's
To the
probably
next
some
meeting.
other file, under some pile.
well, could be,
I'll do it again.
could be.
All right, so Kevin will send us what we need to know.
Yeah.
Self-check purchase.
So this is something that we've talked about for quite a while, often in relation to opening up the front door, there at the Lincoln Avenue entrance. It was listed as one of the purchases, or one of the uses of the state per capita grant, the money that we are spending now, that we have to spend by June. And it's actually the first step of probably a multi-year project, which is to implement RFID, a term you heard Rick mention again and again and again. So that was very appropriate that you talked about that. RFID is radio frequency identification, and it involves, just as we have a barcode in every item now, every item will get an electronic tag inside that will have information about the item. So as he said, you can check out a stack of items by, boom, they're done. And they're desensitized too. Instead of our current process of open it up, stick it under the scanner, put it down below to desensitize, bring it back up, and give it to the patron. So it streamlines that and other processes and gives us a lot of advantages, or a lot of ways to better manage the collection. We, at some point, will be getting a device where we can literally put like that on the shelves, on every shelf in inventory. Get just like that, get a list of what's missing, even what's not shelved in the right place. So, I mean, there's just tons of benefits from it.
It's gonna allow people to go out to Lincoln Street accesses. And if they don't do the process properly and it doesn't desensitize, is there an alarm that goes off on that door?
Well, if we have gates there, yes. I mean,
So that's
that's,
part of the system, in other words.
yeah,
No, there's
eventually,
no, well,
yes, but
the
there are not
gates
gates
would
there.
be part of the system.
Would be part
Down
of the
the road,
system.
right.
I see.
The reason I'm talking about this is because the self-check is the first piece of this. All these other parts come down the road, but you have to look at it as all one big
Right.
project.
Right.
Do you need the RFID in each of the books before you can do the self-check?
No. No, you can do the self-check, because it will work with the barcodes that we have now. RFID just makes it simpler
And
and
faster.
quicker
So there's
for
gonna be
staff and
a
patrons.
very
Right.
large job of updating
Right.
the entire collection.
Right, right. But that's all down the road. I'm just mentioning this just to make the point that the self-check is not an isolated purchase. It's part of a bigger project. And so we need to start by looking at what RFID system we want. And Pam and department heads have looked at various systems at conferences over the last couple of years. With this in mind, knowing that we would be moving this way at some point. And so the consensus was that 3M provides the best system, most reliable, most flexibility, most options. And it is also the system that is most widely used around here. Skokie and Niles have it, Des Plaines, Mount Prospect, and a lot of others. The Rails directors list, somebody on there asked what RFID systems libraries have, and about 80% of those responded said 3M. So we decided the 3M system that we want. Then we look at where are we buying 3M equipment. We need it from 3M, of course. They also have other distributors that sell their equipment. And so what you have, which was not in the packets, but you had it here in front of you when you sat down, was the quotes that we got from 3M and 3 other distributors. And you will see that 3M's price is just under $20,000, and the others are in the range of $30,000.
$3
Yes.
The
And so,
exact same thing.
yes. Yes, and we get the quote from 3M to get the part numbers, and then just go to these other distributors to get
What a margin.
their
What an incredible margin.
Look at these.
and so this would be for 3 of these. 2 would be standalone kiosk type units. Those are very small enough. The main part is maybe 1.5 feet wide, and then there's a wider surface to put your materials on. And so we would have one of those by the Lincoln Avenue entrance, and we would put one down in children's department, which would really be great. The parents can check their things out while the kids are playing on the train set or whatever, instead of having the kids milling around down at the surf desk, climbing on gates. That's it. So the standalone units in those 2 places, and then the third one, which is the second, on the 3M quote, the second item, you get one of, which is a desktop unit, where you buy the pieces and put it on your own.
So do we have to
Service.
buy a kiosk to put this thing onto?
No, this is everything.
This is
Here.
it.
This is, okay.
I mean, for the desktop one, that will go on the surf desk on the corner.
What kind of warranty is involved?
Well, it's 15 months of service that's included in these prices. Actual warranty, I'm not sure, at least a year, if not longer. But it's gonna be the same for all of them, because it all comes from 3M.
Oh, okay.
And 3M actually does the service on, no matter who you buy it from.
Right.
Anyway, so,
That was my next question.
yeah.
And the other purveyors are 10,000 more.
It doesn't even make sense.
I guess you go with 3M,
Obviously.
Well,
they
that's-
make the product.
Well,
So that's what I would ask for approval to purchase these 3 units from 3M.
So,
Is it covered through our grant?
Yes, it's be paid for by the per capita grant, which is about 23,000, about 3,000 left over.
there, we have to respond to 3M by,
May 7th.
No,
March
No, this
31st.
has to be ordered by March 31st.
can we run this by Deborah Stombris
$10,000 difference.
to get her thoughts on this? I didn't see this until tonight.
Me too.
So, not that I don't trust your judgment or whatever, but whenever I see a huge disparity in something like this, I have to wonder. It's really large, which is
Well, I guess
3M.
what?
Although
it's
the
same-
discount
We're
is also
getting the
very
discount, the
significant.
$10,000 difference is the discount.
Right, it's the
Right.
same, it's
It's
exactly the
really,
same.
you're getting the
equipment.
same stuff, except
There's
you're
nothing
3M.
different.
They're not giving
discount.
Actually, Deborah spoke about a kiosk and changing out of the other.
Well, I
I
just
agree with
wondered if
Mark,
we
though.
could let her,
Yeah.
she starts on the 24th, it gives her a week to look at this thing, and if we could just email it to her and say, what do you think now? We still got time to buy it, right? I mean,
I agree, Mark.
she's gonna have to live with it. I mean, we're hiring her to help us. I'm not an expert in, I have a pretty good idea what this is, but I'm not the expert.
But are we
This is
voting on this
Given
tonight?
this is the most widely used system, I don't know what would be. different, and especially we've not had time, I mean, if,
For her to take, you could email these things to her, she could look at them and
I was
just
gonna say,
provide.
why do you have to wait till she starts?
Yeah.
Well,
We could
Just
do it.
email it to her. I'd like to get her feedback on this because she's got more experience in it than me. And
I don't know if
Me
if
too.
they use it there.
Could we approve this with the,
Conditionally, I don't
Conditional,
think you would
no.
want to. And I,
Next meeting's the 20th.
because you have to come back and meet on the 20th of March again,
Yeah.
just to get this.
well, the March board meeting is before she starts.
well, she could come and, she could
Yes,
come
but
to
that's
it
also
and even,
true, yes.
But we can have.
she could come
before
here
then,
and give us
Because
her
there
input.
are other systems too.
I'd like to get her feedback on this before we vote.
Okay.
And and as crazy as this sounds, wouldn't you want to have the barriers put up before you make the stuff readily accessible? I mean, to me, that's like the cart before the
That's
horse.
barriers, but,
The
Gates.
safety
The
gates,
gates.
whatever you call them.
well, the gates aren't of any use until we re-tag the whole collection.
Yeah,
We're talking a multi-month process
yeah.
there. And the purchase of the gates, which, you know, was not budgeted, the grant doesn't cover it.
Yeah.
The issue, so I put it in next year's,
I thought we had another, we had,
The
Claude
gates-
says we have another set of gates.
they are not RFID gates. They are gates for our current security system with the security strips, completely different system.
Well, but then, are you saying we can't use the kiosks until the RFID is in
Or you could
anyway?
use it with personnel, a person. yeah.
No, we
So-
have been moving towards removing these gates down here. Because the cost, while we have another set of gates, to install it down there would be another $5,000. That was a couple of years ago,
Mhm.
so assume what.
So they didn't know.
And it's outdated technology. I mean, it doesn't work with any of this.
Yeah.
On the assumption that theft is not going to be a major concern, at least in the short term, Pam had been planning on at least turning off, if not removing, the gates down here. I mean, as you said, there's no point in opening those doors and having security gates here, if we don't have them down there.
Yeah.
So that was the plan, we would remove,
The
turn
only
off,
thing you
remove these
can do
gates.
is just put those security
Well,
gates there and not
exactly.
open them up.
Right, right, but even that would be a not
Free.
inconsiderable expense, well, no, it wouldn't be down there.
Well, you, I
Um,
mean, why could not a person be posted there?
That would be rather
That would
expensive.
be-
Oh, you would-
Yeah,
you
you
would
wouldn't
fine.
lose that much in shrinkage
I mean,
as
plus-
it would to have a person.
Well, what I was kind of thinking, the work of changing the codes, is this something that a intelligent volunteer could do?
Yes, but it's something that to be most efficient needs to be done in the stacks. We can't be bringing
I
150,000 items
understand,
down.
which is fine,
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that.
So are you saying that if we buy these things, they have to stay in boxes till we have the
No.
RFID?
No, because they will work. They
They'll
have-
read a barcode.
Yeah, read a barcode,
Please,
which is
the
other
library will
probably-
close at
Right,
15.
I mean, they scan RFID tags, but they also have, you know, the red line lasers like you see. to
So you
scan
could
barcodes too.
put, so you could put the dummy gates in the front if you wanted to have the
Perceived,
Well-
yes, you could.
But that is not an insignificant job, because the gates we have came from a place where they're mounted in the floor. And we can't easily do that there, we still have to buy some kind of plate to put them on, to mount them on, attach that to the floor. I mean, doable, yes, so worth a couple $1,000 for something that we use for a couple of years maybe.
That is fake anyway.
So are you saying we get these and then not open that door until we get the?
No,
get-
no, we would open the, we would
Oh, you
open.
would open the door?
We buy
Okay.
these, open the door,
And hope
Why
for
don't
the
you
best.
let, yeah,
Hope for the best.
yeah, let our, I think. our
I'd like to get- I
director
wanna
could
get
have
some input
on
from-
that. Yeah.
Mark, we can vote subject to her acceptance.
That's what I was thinking.
You can get that. on.
Don't you kind of treading on some.
Well, because it should be done
Pass the
earlier.
motion and vote.
No, because what if she comes back and
But
says, well, I'd
Leonard,
like to change a
let's,
couple of
she'll
things.
respond
and then-
quickly.
Eventually, but that's what the condition is. You keep that in your motion. If she rescind it, or she rescind it.
But we meet again before the deadline, and we can bring this up at the next meeting and vote on it,
As long as
without
we-
having to have a special meeting.
Well, as long as we don't lose it.
No, we wouldn't.
It's a very,
Yeah, I mean,
seems like
it's
a
a
good
$10,000
deal under a grant, you know.
What's the problem with not voting?
All
Not
things
voting
being
now,
equal.
subject to her approval?
Yeah,
Is that
I'm with Art.
subject to it?
Well,
I mean, you could vote to authorize this purchase, subject to approval by the new director.
Right.
And then if the new director doesn't approve it, then it doesn't go
Then it
through.
doesn't go
It's not true, but this way it
I'm
might get
okay
done,
with that.
we could, might
But-
expedite it this way.
That doesn't,
but what about the fact that technically your start date is the 24th?
Right.
We're asking her to approve it before she's.
Even-
You are.
yeah.
Yeah, you
You
are.
could do that.
I mean, is this,
I would just like her
Well,
input.
no, she signed I'm presuming she signed an agreement that says she works for the,
Yes. Well, if, on the
effective on the
24th.
24th.
Yes.
Letter of intent, it's gotta count for something.
Well.
No, we've got the official.
I'm not trying to be difficult, because I would like to
Well,
get it done.
I understand
too.
what your point is, you're saying
I-
that she can't approve it until she's actually on the ground.
Well, she can, but it doesn't hold water.
Yes, it does.
I would just like to get her input on it.
I would like to get her input too. I totally
We
agree
can
with
vote
you.
on the 20th, you got
Right,
to
we- we get the
11
time.
days.
We have the time to do it at
11
the
days.
next.
Why don't you just do that?
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like a
11 days,
phenomenal system.
Yeah, it sounds good.
I'd like, she's big into technology, I just
I
like
would
to hear
look for
what she
some
has to
decent
say.
volunteers to do a lot of the work part.
I think we have two here.
I don't know if I'm decent.
It's taken care of. It's, when it's done properly, you don't have to worry about it.
No, I know that. Thank you. No, it's a lot of, there's gonna be a
And
lot.
I used it when I was in Arizona, and it goes, most of those libraries all have them. They're all over the country. It's,
These self-checkouts.
yes.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh,
And it's,
yeah,
it's
that's not
very,
what we're talking
it's cost
about.
efficient.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with the system, I have no problem. No, I'm
So
just
the
saying,
20th is the next
to
meeting.
getting the books up to snuff. Getting the code put into the books, and that's, I was thinking that would be a good job for a couple volunteers.
So self-check purchase will be on the 3/20 agenda.
Beautiful.
So what do you want me to do?
I like to send
Send the
her,
stuff to her?
send her this, yes, and ask her if she can give us an opinion. And then I'm sure she'll be at the next board meeting.
We just won't allow her to open her mouth.
So the next is appointment of a nominating committee for board officers, so I guess we reset the board, what, in May, or?
With the executive committee.
How would Paul and Art like to do that? Do you guys like to step up and be the nominating committee?
Well, I want to nominate Paul.
And he might want to nominate you. What a great pair. You can nominate yourselves, I just wanted to pick two people who aren't on the, well,
Technically, I'm
Yeah.
on the executive.
you're on, but you can't stay as secretary. So we all have to change.
Do you want this for the next meeting?
Is that when we have to?
That's what the bylaws say.
Okay,
Because I want to say that, unfortunately, I scheduled a vacation during the next meeting. I'm gonna be gone from the 15th to the 22nd. So that might be a problem, I'm just saying.
so you wouldn't be around for the
I
20th?
won't be here for the 20th, yeah. I mean, I could come up with a slate, that's not a problem. but
That would be okay.
I wouldn't be here.
I'd be okay with that, if you guys want to.
I mean, if you want, would you want to do that? Art?
Trustees Burton and Goldstein, thank you. I have no other communications.
I have
You have no business?
I have a question.
Okay.
As I've said several times, the bylaws call for
They'll be elected in April. Oh, so,
Give it a nice slate.
The
They get
bylaw,
announced in March and elected in April, correct?
I don't see, I'm trying to figure out where it says they get announced in March. Okay, the committee presents its nominations at the March board meeting.
Yeah.
Additional nominations can be made from the floor, but then the actual election is not until the April meeting. In even numbered years.
which this is.
April 2014, okay.
My question is, we've referred to this a number of times, I'm not even sure who's on what committee anymore, to be honest, but somehow we need to establish these committees meeting and starting an agenda of what they need to be doing.
The committee members are listed online. Who's on what committee?
Okay, wherever it's listed somewhere.
Under
Yeah,
board,
Under the board,
Oh,
it's on.
okay. Anyway, because two of them don't even have an established chairman to call a meeting. So I'm not sure technically the procedure. how
Well,
it
we'll
happens.
reset all that. It's all gonna get reset in the next 2 months.
The committees too.
Yep.
well, no, the committees don't get reset until May.
Well, which is when you bring in the new officers, so
Yeah.
whoever's gonna be the new president is gonna reset the committees.
Yeah.
If they want to.
The
Yeah,
committees get
but if in the
reset after.
meantime, I think Barb is saying that, you know, we've gone 2 years without any committee meetings and
That's
maybe.
basically what I'm saying.
So have a meeting.
um,
Whoever's
I'm
on a
not-
committee, have a meeting.
Well, she's saying that,
No, I'm talking about policy and facilities, basically.
Whoever's on policy, have a meeting. There's nothing stopping you from calling a meeting. If you're on the policy committee.
I don't, okay, so I have to find out. who's
Yeah, I
on
don't, off the top of my head, I do not know who's on it.
I don't know about it.
Okay.
We may have a couple of policies coming up
Well, that's what I'm,
in a month or so.
I mean, I think there's work that needs to be done. The building committee, I'm not as sure.
I think I'm on the building committee, but no one's ever talked to me about it.
Right.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
So we're good.
I think I am too, but I don't know what that
I think
means.
have you put that in the personnel file for next
Oh, yeah.
I think we need a new building, how's that?
Covered
STOMPRES?
After listening to this guy, I wanna,
It's Stombres.
I wanna build a gas.
Stombres with
Yeah,
the
what
E.
is it, how do you?
Storm Breeze,
Breeze.
So
Right.
she's
I
been
asked her.
saying it wrong all along.
yeah.
I
Yeah, I was
don't
right.
know the last part of the name.
No,
Some breeze.
Storm Breeze.
Sound
Breeze.
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 Okay, public comments on non-agenda items?
Wait, I had a couple of communications too.
Yes.
We got a letter from the Secretary of State saying that we will be awarded the next per capita grant. And that is for 29,000 instead of the usual 23, which is nice.
It's
And what was
population
it,
growth. Huh?
what was
So
it
nice that they
allotted
have all
to?
this money.
I-
Where do they find it?
It's yours.
Last fall, I don't know.
It's mine, right?
Okay, so we'll have to pull the paperwork to see what we have to spend it
Right,
on.
it's become.
Yeah, we can't spend it for 6 months plus anyway, so.
Doesn't guarantee that.
And we also got a very nice compliment
Pays for the.
via voicemail. This is from Christina Adi, who many of you may recognize. She said, "I wanted to pass on my compliments to all of you at the library for putting on so many great programs. My kids and I really appreciate all the fun things that we can do at the library, and I've been very impressed lately, so good job."
Hey, hey, way to go.
Okay.
That's all.
All right.
She had a little time because she's not really the market.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
She finally found out what we could do.
All right, doesn't look like we're gonna have any public comments. No need for an executive session. So we can have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And a second and no.
I'll second.
All righty, we are adjourned, thank you.